Alright, what's up y'all, it's LakerFan here. As you can see by the title of today's video, we have the top 3 power forward builds in NBA 2K25, aka, as you guys have probably caught on to, the top 5 power forward builds. So, technically, the 7-footer and the 6'11 that I have listed here are just two different versions of each other that I want to explain the differences between, even though they're very similar types of builds. We just made it to be like a pure stretch big, essentially. Something that's along the lines of like Pro-Am, Rec, stuff like that, that's actually playing the 4 and you want to be a little bit more of a shooter. So as for our other 3, as you can see, the 6'7", 6'8", and 6'9", they're all pretty much the same type of build, little trifecta right here. It's meant to play back end where it guards the pick and roll in a Pro-Am style, while also the builds could really play like the 3 in the park if you would like, or the 2 in a setting where it's a really like ball dominant point guard and you just need defense and spot up shooting out of your role players essentially. And that's what these are meant to be. More spot ups, role players, nothing crazy on offense, but very switchable and versatile defenders on the defensive end where it can guard ball and can guard bigs. And that's the intention when it comes to making a power forward in Pro-Am, if you ask me. So like I said, rec big right here at 7 foot. You could still justify a 6'9" also being a rec power forward, or even the 6'8". I think 6'7" is a little bit out there as far as actually fitting into the rec center, and you could even argue it's a little bit out there for fitting into Pro-Am. But I just wanted to give you guys a couple of options, and I'd like to think all 3 of these are very viable. So anyway, and then we also have the 7-footer. But let's get straight into the video. I just want to talk about from number 1 to number 4, and I'd like to think this is my favorite build as far as power forwards go. 6'8", 7'4" wingspan with a 232 on the weight. As you can see, it's enough to be able to get that 94 defensive rebound, and that's what we're going to do, is going to get that Hall of Fame box out beast, combine that with 91 strength as well. For not that brick wall matters a whole lot on a build like this, but it could justify you playing as the big. However, here's the thing, obviously the finishing not exactly meant to be a park big per se. It's gonna be a little bit tough on the pick and rolls. The pick and pop would be a little bit, you know, not exactly reliable with the 78 3-pointer, and also it's not like your pass act is super high either. Same with, you know, it doesn't really bring a whole lot to the table offensively. 60 speed with ball does get the Zion dribble style, which is something that is at least something brought to the table, but defensively is what we're here to obviously talk about. You guys have seen this build on the channel a lot if you follow mine, so obviously, you know, we understand that you might want to skip this part of the vid. But 82 interior D, we're going for the silver post lockdown, as well as just a really good threshold to hit for something that's respectable on the interior defensive ratings. I've really become a fan of interior defense in this game. Not the play style of it and how great it is, but granted it's decent, but I just mean the interior defense rating. It's very important. The difference between this being low and high, in my opinion, is huge in terms of stopping post scores, in terms of stopping mashing in general, and then as you can see also obviously it correlates with post lockdown on silver, so that's just the threshold that we try and go for in that regard. So 92 perimeter D, as you can see, on ball menace challenger. We've been over this a lot of times on the channel, but I'm here to just, you know, obviously re-spark that whole point for anybody who hasn't heard that yet. 94 steal for the Hall of Fame interceptor, 84 block for the paint patroller, as well as once again just a respectable rating. And then we have 94 defensive rebound for the gold rebound chaser and the Hall of Fame box out beast. Now, tier 2 badges on this build, right? I would say something like box out beast could be pretty justified. You could also argue maybe something along the lines of immovable enforcer if you wanted to be a little bit more switchable and on the on-ball defensive sort of deal with it. But I'd like to think that the box out beast is probably the best thing to go with for the tier 2. And then, I mean, unless you wanted to play as a screen setter, obviously, you know, the brick wall is also a tier 2, but again, that's pretty rare that you're going to find people that are going to try and run something like that. So I'd like to think running box out beast and rebound chaser might just be the way you want to go about this as far as the tier 1, tier 2. Or you could justify the Hall of Fame interceptor going to legend, because obviously that's something with you as a power forward. If you're guarding the pick and roll teams of like a true ranked Pro-Am or comp Pro-Am setting, you're going to be wanting to bait the point guard and like step into his area as your lockdown needs help, and then get back to the big man on the rolls, and boom, there you are in the lane with your good speed, good agility, stuff like that, all that. Obviously, combine that with the steal rating and the legend interceptor. If you decide to max +1 that, it'd be a big move for sure. So anyway, like I said, we've talked about this a lot. I just wanted to re-spark this on the channel and talk about how I still think this is one of the best power forward builds for sure. And this isn't really with the cap breakers involved though. I will say this build at 6'8" is very limited in terms of cap breakers. If you go any higher on the weight, it's going to be something where the agility doesn't match up with the on-ball menace being gold anymore. If you go lower on the weight, you're going to be dropping that rebound too low, and then the steal can't get high enough for 99. So as far as cap breaks, I don't believe 6'8" is the right way to go, but in the short term, I think it's the best build. I didn't really discuss the three-pointer too much, and some of you out there who are maybe new to the channel may be wondering, is 78 three-pointer capable of hitting at a good rate? And I've seen my boy Apollo really improve as a shooter. He's been back and forth between X-button shooting and stick shooting with the rhythm shooting and stuff like that, and both have been very improved as he's continued to play on the build. At the very beginning of the game, he was probably shooting around 40% from three. Now I'd like to think he's in the 55 to like 60-ish range, even on a build like this. And he's been a very reliable shooter these days on a build with exactly these ratings and pretty much this exact build. So I'm here to vouch for it. I think it's a really good model, and as you can see, we have a lot of different versions of it. So let's just start with the 6.7. I know like we're deterring a lot of the rec viewership and stuff like that right here, but understand obviously after this we're here to showcase the 6.9 and then the footers and stuff like that that are as the stretch bigs and stuff. So anyway, this right here is meant to be a little bit more of like a hybrid lockdown, where it's something that can guard ball very doably for that matter, while also still having the interior defense high and being able to justify yourself being able to guard bigs. We have the max wingspan, so you're getting obviously just, you know, better contests in general on that, while also still having the 88 interior D, the 84 block as well. We got good strength to match for that legend immovable enforcer without even having to max +1 it. That obviously buys you the idea of maybe getting the immovable enforcer on legend as well, just by max +1ing this, and then you could maybe still run once again rebound chaser, interceptor, maybe even challenger in the tier 1 potentially. Or if you wanted to run something, you know, like I said, more along the lines of the interceptor that fits the power forward model a little bit better, you could definitely do that. But the ideology behind this build is to be switchable on defense. You could really just be a menace out here, you know. Now obviously we've talked about this in previous videos too, so the 50 pass act being low, I know it sucks. It's not something that's going to be super great, and you have to understand that that's the style you'd want to buy into. Same goes for the low finishing. Obviously it's only like enough to get dunk packages, period, you know, and even the finishing is a little bit suspect as far as the driving lay, the close shot. It's not like something that's desirable for sure, but again, the build's meant to wreak havoc on defense with versatile interior and perimeter defensive abilities, while also being a great rebounder and having great strength and elite speed for that matter. Crazy bait ability on this. I mean, it's truly like just a rover on defense that can move anywhere, and you could argue that the value of this is a lot higher than just being able to pass the freaking ball. So, I mean, you know, like I said, it's for the people who are willing to be a little bit risky with when they're creating their builds and understand that they're limited. You know, you can't throw outlet passes or anything like that, but there will be checkdowns to be able to throw the ball to very consistently. You can bet that people aren't just like running 4 guys streaking on the break every single time. There will be people, especially when you're playing with a squad, that want to come back to the ball. And granted, I'd like to think there are definitely still people out there that, even if you're not playing with a squad, will do the same. Or you can make your best effort at walking the ball up the court a little bit. I'd like to think just wiggling back and forth with the left stick is not too hard to do in this game, and avoid bumps and plucks and stuff like that. It's not like plucks are super crazy good or anything. But yeah, with the way the lanes are, you don't want to throw too many outlet passes with something like this. So again, I mean, great perimeter defense, great steal, great interior and block. You may wonder if the 6.7 with high interior D can bang down low with the bigs, and I've seen Apollo on this exact build as a rebirth with just being able to max, not max +1, but use the cap breakers on the steal rating, because we had to recreate his 6.8 build after we realized that once he got the cap breakers, he wasn't going to be able to utilize that at all, really, for anything that was meaningful. So we ended up going 99 steal on the cap break. If you want to do that as well, that's obviously a +5. It works out really good because 94 is just in a natural, you know, correlation with that. So I like to think it's a really good way to use the cap breaks on a build like this. So anyway, moving along, so for something that probably fits the people that want to be on more of a real power forward height in 2K, we have the 6.9. So again, in that same realm of like exactly what you're looking at with the builds, right? Now this one, however, we played for the cap breaks on this, and that's going to be to go from 94 rebound to 99. If you have no interest in that, I would very much so recommend go down 1 tick on the wingspan, and then you can adjust the weight here and there as well to be able to you know, just modify a little bit, but that would allow you to get the silver set shot specialist. Now, whether it's like 2K Lab studies or just in general, like people seeing how the builds can shoot on the game, I don't think the difference between like something like 75 3-pointer and then 77 or 78 is that huge. So if you would like to go with this, with the way that I intended for the build to be made, again, that would allow you the cap breaker situation to get your rebound from 94 to 99. And yes, you would miss out on Legend Box Out Beast, because as you can see, you need like a really crazy amount of strength to be able to even get this on Legend. It's literally 96, which we're not going for on the build, and we couldn't even get it with the way that we kind of engineered it in the first place. But what also was important with the way that I designed the weight was to be able to get the agility to 76 for the silver on-ball menace. And I'd like to achieve all of the defensive badges that we have on a 6'9 like this because it's in the perfect range for them. You get the 85 steal for gold interceptor, 85 perimdy for on-ball menace, a movable enforcer, pick dodger, all that, getting in those thresholds. Once again, 88 interiority, 88 block, while also having good vert for the rebounding and the gold high flying denier as well. So 91 strength. It's actually not anything super crazy that we attained through this. So if you wanted to, you could drop it to the 89 for that box out beast on Hall of Fame and just leave it at that and put the rating somewhere else. But honestly, there's not a lot you can do with this type of budget remaining on the build. So I don't know, if you want to just go along the lines of what I did with the 91 strength and it's already been, you know, justified and tested, feel free to. If you want to pivot the rating somewhere else, also feel free to. But as you can see, there's a lot of like tethers and stuff you got to deal with, like the fact that if you put your speed with ball up more, it's going to change your driving lane ball handle. Pass sack, you could actually go up on this if you wanted to shoot for like 85, boom, take the free throw down maybe just a little bit more, and then there you go. You have like bailout with 85 pass sack if you would like on your back end type build, maybe be able to throw the outlets a little bit more dually. So feel free to adjust however you would like, but the main point of what we're trying to get at with the build here is to still be fast enough, agile enough, yet also good enough at interior defense and rebounding to justify being able to be a switch everything type build again. And this 6'9 is truly meant to be something that starts on the back end where you're just maybe playing a little bit lower, but if you have to switch, it's something that can definitely get the job done still with the 85 perim and the 76 agility. I've already tried playing on a build like this too, and it's totally doable for sure. I've played on exactly these height, weight, wingspan, and you know the speed, agility, perimdy, all that on my 6'9, and it's plenty playable for sure. I would back it 100%. So if you're interested in the 6'9, that's the type of build for you. Now let's talk about the stretch big type build where it's more of like a, I'm not going to call it a Dirk Nowitzki sitting in the corner because it still has a decent bit of rebounding and interior defense and stuff like that, which granted, it's not like he was terrible with it, but I mean, we also got like 90 standing dunk. The 7-footers, people have put me on in the comments and stuff like that in previous videos, and I had to try and make a rendition of the stretch big at 7 foot, and I'd like to think this right here is looking pretty disgusting. So you have the 90 post control, which is obviously the post fade phenom. It correlated with the post scoring was also post powerhouse, so I decided to try and go with a little bit higher strength than we would have maybe originally justified at like 93 to just get box out beast. Up that to 86 to get gold post powerhouse instead. 74 vert for the silver high flying denier. Also just want a decent vertical in general. Don't worry about how that correlates with your standing dunk packages because you still get the elite contact dunks for bigs at 70 vertical, tied to also having 90 standing dunk. So not only can the build have ridiculous mid-range ability, the best jump shots bigs can possibly get, 86 three-pointer, which is insane on a footer in the first place, great outlet passing with 89, pass accuracy, gold break starter, all that, Tyrese Halliburton pass style, you got the Zion dribble style even still, 65 perim for the bronze immovable, and then also 60 steal for the bronze interceptor, and then keeping a decent interior D and block while also having an okay rebounding. It's nothing crazy, I totally understand, but 85 with the gold box out beast and silver rebound chaser, I'd like to think can still get the job done. And obviously you don't need O-board if you're going to be, roaming around the three-point line constantly, or mid-range shot and just being the person who's taking shots consistently as well. Now, we'll talk in a second about how missing out on things like shifty shooter and stuff like that are going to be where the 6'11 and 7-footer definitely, differentiate a little bit in terms of what you want to get at with the builds. But again, the post-fade phenom and just like the ability to be hitting stuff like that, as well as being 7 foot and shooting over people is going to be very doable. I would recommend a max +1 of set shot specialist to go to legend. That would be a huge deal while also combining it still with the gold deadeye, obviously. And again, standing contact dunk ability while also just being a good standing dunk option, post scoring option as well. So if you're playing with it inside, you can still use this build as a really like outside post scoring threat between the post fades, the post hops, stuff like that, having that great post control as well, being able to correlate with that, the 92 close shot while also having the paint prodigy and all that as well. I'm not here to spread the toxic propaganda, but let's just say post scoring is based on the location rather than the type. So let's say post fades, for instance, right? I hate that I'm even mentioning this to you guys, but post fades at the close range area are still correlated with your close shot. It's not your mid-range rating. So like if you do a post fade from like 6 feet away, it's correlated with your close shot rating, and which is why we want to maybe have something like that higher. It's not actually why, I just think it's a good idea to have, while also you could be an inside-out post-score threat. So we mentioned if you're at the 4 and you're playing with an inside big, you could still be an outside post-scoring threat while also having that inside post-scoring threat. With the post control, you know, you got the post-up poet and the post powerhouse and stuff like that with the standing dunk high, the close shot high. You know, I'd like to think this is a really disgusting build to have to guard or even deal with on the court, period. I mean, it literally is a nightmare for people to guard. If you're a super tall, let's just say you're being guarded by a super tall person, right, who's super slow, they're gonna have a hard time keeping up with you. You got the Zion dribble style, you got really high mid-range. I get you don't have shifty shooter, but it really would still be a massive threat as far as people that are really slow trying to keep up with you and guard type of stuff like this. And then if you have a really small matchup on you, you take them to the post with the standing dunk, the post control, the close shot. So all these things combined while still being a very, I would say, respectable defender with 82 interior and 84 block and still having 85 D-board with the gold box out beast and the silver rebound chaser. I think all this stuff is a pretty nasty build for that matter, while keeping a really good speed on a 7-footer as well, and really good agility on a 7-footer for that matter. I like just talking about how those are good thresholds to hit as far as being a big. So what makes the footers so broken, if I didn't already mention in the video, is the fact that they get more attribute points. So if you look around at this build right here, we have not a single rating higher. The close shot isn't higher. I guess the layup is a little bit higher but that's because the game forces it to be. We did get a little, technically, that's a lie. That's a lie. Obviously, you know, with the physicals and stuff like that, you get the speed, you get the agility higher, and then naturally that means we wanted the speed of ball higher because it gets a lightning launch. But where the 6'11 prospers a good bit is the badges. So we get Challenger, for instance. We are missing out on a movable enforcer on silver, but it's because the strength's going to be a little bit hard to afford in this regard, and that's because, again, you're 6'11. It's a little bit harder to. You could justify taking the pass act down if you wanted to get more strength as well. You can still get the strength that's required for being, you know, silver movable enforcer, because obviously you can get to 82 strength, as you can see, but it's just hard to afford. And the same with, we're missing out on like box out beast on gold. You know, it's only able to afford 80 defensive rebound. But what we want out of the 6'11 is things like this, where you get the gold shifty shooter, you get still the post badges and stuff like that, and the close shot is still high, so you can still take people down to the paint for sure with a build like this. It's just not at such a crazy rate. And same with like how post powerhouse is, you know, something a little bit out of our range as well, so we only have bronze on this. Long story short, man, I've been proven by the commenters and my viewers and stuff like that 7-footers are just superior to 6'11s, and it's true, it really is. But again, some things to go for it. You get the Challenger, you get things like strong handle if you would like as well, if you were to put your ball handle higher. And granted, I've made this build maybe a little bit better as far as being a shot creator in the past, because you can do things like maybe take your prim D down to like 72 instead, or, you know, in this case 71 because we can't get the immovable enforcer. You could get your ball control up, but as you can see, it's tough because like it's tied to your driving lay, and it's what we were talking about earlier, how the driving lay is technically higher on this build than is the 7-footer, because this has different tethers, and like we don't need ball handle as much on a footer because you can't really even get it that high. So it's tough to say, man. But point being, I just wanted to make my case for the 6'11s. You get the gold shifty shooter, you get bronze lightning launch as well, you get things like Challenger, and then again strong handle. All of these things you cannot get if you're above 6'11. You can see they're like height capped essentially. Or if we come back to the footer real quick to give you the best example of them, we'll go ahead and like hover over the badge and you'll see shifty shooter must be 6'11 or shorter. For lightning launch must be 6'11 or shorter. And just in general, you can't get the speed of ball high enough on, I believe, any footer for that matter. And then, you know, going to the prim D, Challenger must be 6'11 or shorter. Strong handle, again, must be 6'11 or shorter. So a lot of this stuff is obviously hurting you badge wise, but because 7-footers get superior attribute ratings in comparison, I think it's potentially worth, in my opinion. And the only thing that's really affecting you, like really affecting you on a build like this to not be able to get, would be, let's say, Challenger, and then probably more along the lines of just shifty shooter, and that's it. Lightning launch, it's tough. It's something that's a little bit tough to miss out, but it's not the end of the world. And strong handle, I really don't care personally, but some people may differ in their opinion with it. But anyway, that's all for the video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to drop a like, sub if you're new, turn on noties, all that good stuff. And like always, try to 1 to 2,000 likes. If you made it to the end of the video and want to show your support that you made it to the end, put whatever height of these builds that you would like in the comments. We got the 7 foot, 6'9", 6'8", 6'7", or you could put your, hearts out for the 6'11". And I mean, you could even argue any height from 6'7" all the way up to 7 foot for a power forward in this game, if you ask me. The 6'10" we didn't show, but obviously it brings a little bit to the table in terms of being a ball handler and dribbler and stuff like that. So you could justify it over the 6'11". And in the same breath of talking about how it's hard to afford things of being 6'11", when you go even shorter, you would want to, do things like max out the speed, agility, get everything back with the shifty shooter. We actually technically have to go even lower on the weight to be able to get like 72 as well. That makes it so we miss out on the box out beast if we want to go higher on the rebounding. I don't know, it's just a long story. It's unfortunate. 6'10s, they're probably debatably better than 6'11s, but it's hard to afford everything and justify, being so weak in certain areas and stuff like that. Well, again, it's tough to afford some things because your maximum speed becomes higher than a 6'11. So it's just tough to justify as much. But anyway, that's why I didn't mention it in the video. But I know a lot of y'all out there may be 6'10 fans as well, and that's fine because obviously they have really good ball handling, speed with ball type of thresholds and stuff, and it's probably better for those out there that want to be like a real crafty stretch big. But anyway, that's just me explaining a little bit. But that's all. Hope y'all enjoyed. Other than that, take these, man. Peace.